Thank you, participants. It's such an eminent panel that I actually am the worst person to be setting up any context for this. So, without much ado, let me just say that solar pumps, being a cross-sectoral topic, we all see that it can very well, even though the economics work, they can very well fall into a no man's land when it comes to implementation. Especially when you're looking at the African continent, with the additional complexities, it can be an orphan baby when it comes to implementation. So from an ISA's perspective, as a convener, as an umbrella role into bringing the stakeholders together, what I'll limit my conversation today is to only set a possible institutional structure or a framework in which the various stakeholders can possibly work together into bringing solar pumps as a value-added proposition to life in the African continent. And I'll not take much time. So let me just straight away go into this. For example, this is what we feel that could be done if we have to set up an e-marketplace across countries doing solar pumps in the African continent. For example, being a financial intervention, we can choose a local cooperative or a national bank that should set up a program or a subsidiary on solar agri pump sets. There could be a Ministry of Water, Ministry of Energy, or possibly both in that country, and the public body for defining technical standards. This, through the ISA technical assistance or any other technical assistance available in the market locally, with other platforms from donors and philanthropies, can give capacity building to help these two ministries or standards bodies into giving favorable regulations and technical standards to this bank. Because this bank is not aware of how to design a financial product on solar pump sets, which is high on upfront capex, but almost zero on the operational expenditure. Then possibly a funding facility, which we have put in the Africa Solar Facility for, just as a case in point, that combined with concessional financing from any multilateral development bank, based on the proper due diligence on this national cooperative bank in that country, could be giving catalytic equity, because debt is already available with that bank themselves. What they are missing is catalytic equity to the end consumers. Then very important is to have an empaneled list of private sector EPC and vendors in that local market that, through a local technical institute, through the Star C and Global Capability Center offerings of, say, the ISA, could be giving training and best practices for that local market to work back with the bank. Now comes in, from our perspective, is the Ministry of Agriculture, which actually has access to all the consumers and possible communities to which solar pumps can be percolated to. That should give mandates and support to the district level agency or municipality as per those financial institutions' project preparation and due diligence requirements to build a pipeline of projects with costing and feasibility. Then, and this is how we'll bring it together, is that with the end consumer, this local level, district level agency should actually be working in feedback and coordination, because they should be aware of the needs of the local end consumers. This is where, now that we have the financing facility, the standards, the regulations, the technical assistance, the private vendors, is where now we see that an e-marketplace, which has details on product and finance, project pipeline from the district level agency, comparatively selected EPC vendors empaneled on this e-marketplace, that can give financing access to the end consumers. And this is how then the information, communication, education also flows to the end consumers. service happens, payment happens, the loan repayment happens to that through that e-marketplace back to the cooperative bank. And this is where the impact reporting and financial reporting also comes into play. And this is how we see a structure could be put in place. This, in our opinion, having had some feedback from the market, seems to be a broad, agreeable framework with obvious customizations to various countries that could be, used to kickstart a conversation, bringing various kinds of ministries and stakeholders under a common conversation. So we'll end here, but over to PC Sharma ji, to take the conversation away. Thank you. Thank you. You want me to? Okay.
That's fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Garg, for setting the context so thoughtfully, and I think your insights beautifully frame the purpose of today's discussions. With that, it is now my privilege to request Ms. Suman Chandra, Director, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, for an outlook on the Kusum scheme. So let us welcome her with a huge round of applause to the podium, everyone. It's Ms. Suman Chandra. Welcome, madam. Can I request for my presentation? Am I audible? Aishwarya, may I request for my presentation to be loaded? Good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, my colleagues on the dais of the dais. It's an honor to address all of you today, and Kanav, I think, did a brilliant job at highlighting what the digital platform or the architecture of this support may look like. It gives me immense pleasure to state that this is something that India has experimented with in terms of this scheme called PM Kusum since 2019, and let me present to all of you the larger framework of PM Kusum, which will then make it available to everyone to take it not in a prescriptive way, but in a guidance framework which works for everybody in the context-sensitive manner. So this was the status of solarization. If we look at 2009 globally, a very meager spread of solarization of agriculture across the world, and India sat at a meager 12.2 megawatt peak. This kind of accelerated further in 2019, but we were still sitting at 531 megawatt peak. 2023, we are still 1,083, and come 2025, we boast of almost 9 gigawatts of solarization of agriculture, achieved largely through PM Kusum scheme. So what is this mystery of a PM Kusum scheme? So just introducing the scheme itself, the full form of the scheme talks about embedding the name of the Prime Minister himself, giving his name to the cause which is very dear, a greatest nudge that has happened in the energy sector for the first time, where the leadership of the country is invested in ensuring that the clean energy remains not confined to the rich and, to the elite and is a buzzword only in the first word, but it goes right to the grassroots and is delivered to the last mile and benefits the farmers. So PM Kusum scheme was designed in 2019 with end-to-end solarization of the agriculture sector, and it has three components. Component A, which essentially was designed that any farmer who has a barren land and would like to use his barren land for generating additional income for herself or himself can put a small renewable energy power plant up to 2 megawatts, plug it to the grid and earn money as a prosumer. So from Annadata is what we call him in India, means producer of the food. He becomes Urjadata, that he now becomes the producer of energy also, by co-locating both the food infrastructure as well as the energy production infrastructure in his field. Component B is essentially, we know that food, water and energy nexus is a huge trilemma for a lot of countries where the trade-off for the natural resources is very imminent, and how do we address address it is yet to be seen, and countries are accelerating those drives. And component B speaks directly to decarbonizing the diesel irrigation sector that has taken deep roots, and it's deeply entrenched in the agricultural practices across the globe, and particularly in South Asia and African countries. So how do we ameliorate our farmers from the carbon emissions that emit out of the fossil-based diesel pumps, and how do we shift them to the off-grid solar pumping solutions? So component B speaks to that part of solarization of agriculture. And then there is a component C. So I do not know globally, but in India, almost 25 to 30% of the load on the grid is from the agriculture. And government has to pay an additional subsidy to make it low cost or free of cost to the farmer. But still government is paying it. However, if we harness the same energy and shift the source to the sun, we not only decarbonize our grid, but we ensure daytime assured clean energy to our farmers. So therefore, it has a twin benefit of decarbonizing your grid and also saving the government agricultural subsidy, which now frees up and is available for other welfare of the farmers. If we look at the progress of the ground zero to pumping irrigation globally, this is the map which gives you a bit of a trajectory till 2010, and you can see the steady rise of India's focus in this area. Now, I'll skip these slides, but let me come to the detailed analysis of the component A. So what is this component A? Because some of you had expressed interest in the design of the scheme, as Kanav also said that they want to design a digital platform that speaks to all these needs. So component A essentially allows, these capacities are limited by the budgetary allocation that we had, but the larger design is such that if you have land and you want to install a solar plant, so up to 2 megawatt is permitted, and this 2 megawatt is thoughtfully kept because most of the farmers that in India are small and marginal farmers, so they won't have that kind of land, and this is essentially for the farmers to generate income from their land and not to be transferred to some private partner and, then on the name of farmer making some bucks. So essentially the farmland should belong to the farmer. It should be barren, preferably in the first instance, but if there is a cultivable land, we allow for an installation in the stilt fashion, which kind of yields itself to the agrovoltaic structure. The power is purchased by the DISCOM at a prefixed tariff, and since this tariff is little higher than the otherwise market thing, so we give a performance-based incentive of 40 paisa per unit to the DISCOM to offset the perception of the loss that the DISCOM may experience. There are many social benefits to it, but the financial loss that the DISCOM may perceive is offset by this performance-based incentive. There are many best practices across the country in component A, but particularly I'd like to highlight Rajasthan, who have made provision for a one-stop solution, a digital platform, and they have issued a standard operating procedure. I think Mr. Raizada in the previous session also spoke about ease of doing business. So this is one of the examples of the ease of doing business where the farmer doesn't have to go anywhere. He has this digital infrastructure available to him or her, and then they can apply this and in coordination with the DISCOM, right from the installation of the plant to selling of the electricity once it's generated to the grid is monitored and followed up. Then there is this other example of the agrovoltaic plant in Madhya Pradesh, Khargapur. This is again in a stilt fashion, which allows for the seasonal vegetables to be grown under the modules. And this has a structure of financing in 70-30 debt equity ratio. And the technology uses monocrystalline bifacial. There are many examples spread across. I'll skip this and come directly to component B. Component B is essentially the recurring cost of the diesel, which has to be offset for the farmer with one-time investment in the setting up of these solar pumps for them, and government provides a subsidy of 30% of the cost, empanels the technical vendors who then install the diesel pumps in the fields of the farmers. There is a pump sizing tool which is available, which allows for proper sizing of the pump that should be used by the farmer. It's juxtaposed with what is the water table, what is the requirement of the farmer, and there is a provision of guardrails that the overtly overdraft aquifers should not be further overdrawn, so the pump sizing tool takes care of that. And since the irrigation in the fields happen only 150 days out of the 365 days, so therefore there's also a provision for the universal solar pump controller, which allows for the generated electricity to be used for other purposes beyond the irrigation needs of the farmers. This is a schematic, and most of you are technical people here, so I don't have to sort of explain this, so I'll skip past. In component B also, there are different successful models. There is a Saral portal which is used by Haryana. They have a revolving fund mechanism which they keep on replenishing, and therefore that takes care of the gap that occurs between the payment of the central financial assistance and the state financial assistance. There is an online vendor selection mechanism, and the beneficiary selection is in the market mode. They also have very decentralized office systems to take care of the O&M and attend to the farmer grievances. Then there is a small component of the solarization of the grid-connected individual pumps, but the offtake of this is not very great in India because most of the electricity that is provided to the farmer is free of cost, and therefore a grid-connected pump mostly would not like to be solarized by farmers. It's a low preference area. One of the most successful domains and the components of the PM Kusum in the last 2 years has been the feeder level solarization, because in the solar project maximum risk is taken by the discoms, and discoms always find it very inconvenient to navigate that space. But the breather here is provided by feeder level solarization, where they can free themselves from the agricultural load by shifting that load to the daytime power and ensuring that the separated agricultural feeders can be solarized, or if the feeders are not separated, then at least the agricultural load on the feeders can be solarized. Government provides central financial assistance of 1/3 of the cost of the plant, and there is no state share requirement because this takes care of the equity part in the RESCO and the CAPEX mode. There are many best practices that have emerged in the solarization of the feeder. One of the best example is Maharashtra. Maharashtra ensured that first it draws a vision of the solarization needs of the state. Thereafter, they ensured what are they sort of mapped what are the different bottlenecks that exist in this, and land, as some of you in the previous session also pointed out, as one of the bottlenecks, the permissions and the land. So they ensured a land bank for all the project developers through an online land bank portal. They also identified these parcels of land in the 5-kilometer vicinity of the feeders, and they did a cluster base and tenders to ensure economy of scales. They also very proactively and transparently defined the lease price, which kind of brought in a confidence in the private farmers to lease their land. We have almost 9 gigawatts installed under the PM Kusum so far, and it is emerging as a model which many countries are going to replicate. So therefore, I see a great potential of PM Kusum in scaling it up globally to address the water, food, energy nexus. And India is a partner for the Global South through very elite organizations and very deeply development entrenched organizations like ISA can make this journey a shared growth journey. I would really put in a word of appreciation for ISA's efforts like Solar Tech Application Resource Center, StarC, and SolarX startup challenges that are enabling these capacity building, because initially when we started PM Kusum in 2019, it was not an immediate success. It's only subsequently when we took it in a climate collaborative approach, bringing the stakeholders together, not just from the financial streams, but also from the streams of technology, from the streams of O&M, from the streams of EPC, that this scheme could take off, and how we could handhold the states. The true potential of the scheme was unlocked. So therefore, institutions like ISA have a great role to play, that handholding support role for the Global South countries, and I really appreciate their effort in this. So in efforts of solarization of agriculture, I feel also the next frontier is the agrovoltaic technology. As we keep on accelerating our solar, and solar has emerged as the lowest cost technology today for decarbonizing, we would have this conflict constantly between the food and the energy needs, and therefore agrivoltaic is a solution which has to be constantly accelerated at scale so that the costs come down and our regulators also understand the benefits of the same. DRE, decentralized renewable RE, has a huge potential, not just in Asia but globally, and that's where the potential sits for all of us to decarbonize responsibly and to consume responsibly. And once again, my compliments to ISA for taking this agenda forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for that remarkable and inspiring special address. You beautifully articulated the spirit of PM Kusum, where the turning of our Annadata into Urja Data truly captures the essence of inclusive clean energy transformation. Your insights remind us that solarizing agriculture isn't just about megawatts, it's really about mindsets, ensuring that the power of the sun reaches every farmer, every field and every future harvest. So we thank you once again for illuminating how innovation, technology and smart governance are converging to make India's solar story truly farmer-centric, from agrovoltaic fields to digital grievance redressal and feeder-level solarization. And we are so grateful for your perspective, and indeed, as you rightly noted, the International Solar Alliance has a pivotal role to play in amplifying these best practices and helping member countries translate them into tangible change on the ground. So thank you once again. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege and my honor to request His Excellency Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapur, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Ghana, to please render the keynote address. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I believe my voice is audible. Thank you. And I don't need this. Honorable Ministers present here, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great privilege to address this distinguished gathering at the International Solar Alliance Assembly. I wish to express my profound appreciation to the Government of India and ISA Secretariat for convening this timely and thought-provoking session on enhancing food security through what I call the triology, which is energy, water, food nexus. This conversation certainly could not have been more relevant. Around the world today, and particularly in Africa, where I come from, the interdependence between energy, water, and food is not merely conceptual. It defines the daily realities of millions of Africans and the world at large. These three pillars are at the very heart of human survival, economic growth, and sustainable development. In Ghana, like most African countries, agriculture remains the backbone of our economy, providing jobs for millions of people, providing livelihoods for a majority of our people, and the mainstay of most of our economies. Yet, our farmers continue to face recurring challenges: unreliable electricity access, inadequate irrigation infrastructure, and significant post-harvest losses due to insufficient cold storage and processing capacity continues to pose a major challenge. These constraints are further aggravated by climate variabilities and growing pressures on natural resources arising from population growth. But despite all these challenges, despite the enormity of the challenge we face, I'm confident that there is hope. And that hope shines through solar energy. Ghana has already begun deploying solar-powered irrigation systems and mini-grids to support agricultural communities. These systems are providing transformative processes, providing farmers with clean, reliable energy for irrigation, agro-processing, and storage, whilst reducing dependence on expensive fossil fuels. And so clearly, solar energy is serving as a game changer in the agriculture industry. And the results are beginning to show very clear, tangible, and measurable results. This has led to improved yields. It has also lowered the cost of production and greater resilience to climate shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished panel members, however, if we are to scale up these successes, our policies must be evolving. We must be transformative and we must be innovative. We must embrace integrated strategies that brings together the energy, water, and agriculture sectors in pursuit of shared goals by ensuring that we harmonize and integrate these three. In Ghana, my ministry, which is the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, is working closely with partners to promote renewable energy for agriculture by enabling frameworks and targeted incentives to boost this capacity. Yet still, national action alone will not be enough. The strength of entities and organizations such as the International Solar Alliance lies in partnership. I therefore urge member countries to deepen our collaboration and even work more harder. We should work to share our experiences, promote technology, and anchor innovative financing mechanisms that can unlock wider access to solar energy. Together, we can empower smallhold farmers, advance gender equity, and ensure that no community is left behind in this transition. As we look ahead, let us resolve today to do whatever we can to promote solar energy, promote renewable energy, and carry everybody along. Let us imagine a future where solar energy powers not just homes and industries, but also fuels that feeds us and systems that sustains our water resources. A future where our green transition is not only clean, but also just. Not only just, but inclusive. Not only inclusive, but equitable. Ghana stands ready to collaborate, we stand ready to learn, and we are determined to lead. Through the platforms of ISA, let us join hands to strengthen the energy, water, food nexus, accelerate our green transformation, and build a sustainable, resilient, and prosperous future for all generations. Thank you very much. I'm most grateful.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your deeply insightful address and for powerfully reminding us that energy, water and food form the very trinity of human survival and progress, and your vision of empowering Africa's agricultural backbone through solar energy, innovative policies and cross-border collaboration reflects the spirit of shared growth that the International Solar Alliance also stands for. As you said, hope truly shines through the sun, and partnerships like these will ensure that light reaches every community and every farmer in the world who needs it the most. So thank you once again, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will now transit into the panel discussion, and it is indeed my privilege to hand over the proceedings, and who better than Dr. Sujata Gupta, Director of the Asian Development Bank, to take this discussion forward. Madam, please.
Thank you very much. It's really an honor and privilege for me to be amidst very learned colleagues, and I really look forward to hearing your discussion. Just to add to Director Eminari's information on Kusum, I think I must congratulate the Government of India for taking this bold step and actually staying with it, you know, not giving up hope, and letting different variants of it develop over time. So in fact, the Asian Development Bank is working with the state of Maharashtra and for the component C. And what is very, very interesting, if you compare it to the national scheme, Maharashtra has actually contracted 16 gigawatts. They've developed 1.5 gigawatts. They had contracts for 16 gigawatts of this distributed renewable energy. And it's a very innovative model where the private sector comes in and sets up the generation, so saving the farmer getting into a sector where they're not familiar with really, energy generation. And they have fixed a tariff. They get daytime electricity instead of nighttime electricity. So leading from this to the topic of our panel, when we took this proposal to our board, one question that was asked is, how do you ensure sustainable use of water? So that became a major issue. Otherwise, everyone praised this project a lot. But there were issues of over irrigation. That happens even when nighttime electricity is supplied. But amongst our board members, there was one farmer, and he said, I prefer to irrigate my farm at night because there is less evaporation. So we conserve water. So in this panel, I would like to explore another nexus. So of course we are looking at water, food and energy, but what we have to also look at resource, the nexus between resource and how to utilize this resource effectively, especially in water stressed areas. Then comes the issue of access for all or universal access, and especially for those who do not have the means to be able. So we have to look at the resource, technology and business models, and of course, being from a bank, for me, it's very important, the financing. So there is this nexus that I hope our panel members would address, and we'd like to hear a lot more. So with this, let me first, I think the panel doesn't need any introduction, but let me first move to Dr. Ashwini Kumar, who's the technical advisor at Shakti Foundation. And Dr. Ashwini, you have extensive experience in renewable energy policy and implementation. And so how do you see solar energy playing a catalytic role in transforming agricultural productivity, especially in water-stressed regions, and looking at solutions like decentralized solar irrigation?
Thanks. First of all, I would like to congratulate ISA and of course Ma'am Director MNRE, and of course the Honorable Minister from Ghana. I think he is gone. So presenting what I would say a little variant, in the overall approach. Just linking or continuing what Director MNRE presented, I would say, since my experience also in utility scale power in India, India is a country with a lot of policy innovations. And we take pride in that we are able to set leadership, that how can policy work. With that statement or observation, I would like to say that, but still when you are looking at ISA member countries, which is largely, global south countries, a large chunk, and all have large variations in their development, their needs and their present level of growth or infrastructure availability. There is a large variation. We can't see that only from India lens. We have to go beyond that. So that's one thing. But Indian policy provides you, different examples. Like national policy is there. Then states, as you rightly said, there is one Maharashtra example, like separation of feeder, agriculture feeder, and then you are experimenting that. There is a Gujarat model. There is a Rajasthan model. There is Haryana model. You have sub-national lot of learnings. So solar makes a lot of sense as coming back to the overall nexus of energy, water, food. And we all appreciate that as there are happening, demographic changes, population growth and everything. So food systems are getting, under increased pressure of enhancing the productivity. How can you do that? So it means first thing comes the water availability, irrigation coverage has to be maximized, has to be increased. There immediately comes the role of solar pumps. If you have utility, that's fine. If you have don't have utility, in many places, even in India, you are using the diesel pumps. So in India, what ma'am also said or brought out issue is of subsidy also. Because farmers are there, they can't afford the high cost of tariffs, they can't afford the high cost of diesel for running their pumps, but they need to do so. It means in order to make their life easy, you have to reduce the cost of inputs in the agriculture, and for that solar comes very handy. Right now, a lot of ecosystem, very comprehensive ecosystem is there in terms of solar, panel, whatever you talk about, that knowledge is there. People can set up small projects, big projects, and everything. So that's coming very handy. And Indian, I think, subsidy has been, reducing subsidy has been one of the main drivers for PM Kusum scheme. But in other countries, it might be like resilience, or might be increasing the farmers' comfort and efficiently production and all. So, if we start, let us say, setting up the solar pumps, I think Director Mr. Khan presented the context. That's very fine from the bank perspective or financing perspective. But if I am a farmer, I feel at a loss. For whom you are giving the finance? That depends. If it's a discom, it's fine. If it's an individual farmer, you can't afford. Even in India, if you see a diesel pump maybe cost you 10-20,000. A solar pump will cost you maybe 15 times more. How do you meet that capex? And you won't be able to take the loans and concessions or anything. So it means there have to be business models. And India, I think what very interestingly is done in India, you are setting up business models with support. Like for example, you also raised one point on water sustainability that your board wanted to know. When we were discussing with Gujarat, they said, no, if it's a 1 HP model pump, I am officially, it's a kind of 1 kilowatt modules I am setting up. But I allow you to set up 1.5 kilowatt modules. 0.5 extra power which is generated, I'll ask my discom to buy. So that gives you to meet your EMIs, what you are buying from the, and in fact they wanted to make, I am not sure whether they made that provision or not, if out of your units generated, if you consume less, even higher number of units they can buy, distribution company. It means there is an incentive not to use wastefully, water. There is a already built-in incentive in the scheme that you reduce the water consumption. So those kind of models are there. Definitely, I think first part comes the solar pumps, and as far as concerned to agrovoltaics, for me that goes little lower in the priority list, because first thing is I am able to provide the electricity. Then of course one very important thing comes the storage post harvest. storage facilities. If these are provided, I think farmers, again, that food, energy, water, food nexus, that's strengthened if these things are there. But I think apart from that, if we go still beyond that, now a lot of mechanization of agriculture implements is happening. Even e-trucks, e-tractors and those kind of things are coming in because solar is getting cheaper, so people's imagination is expanding and they want to go to any level. So what I feel is that the genesis of success in all these countries, there is no one solution which fit to all. We have to consider each and every country, their economy, their requirement, prepare a roadmap, but definitely aggregation, which we have seen in India with a great pride that brings cost efficiencies in procurement. That can be done, that should be done. And definitely one of the experiment what we did at SECI, Government of India did in SECI was that government was standing behind SECI. It means all the de-risking measures, whatever being implemented, it had a government backing. So there was a, I would say, acceptance in the investors that, look, government is backing up. Though I know that even in the utility scale power, we set up a payment security mechanism and fund. Hardly that was required to be used, but that provided a great confidence and we got best of the prices. I think that was the key to me. So I stop here maybe for further questions.
Thank you very much. Just staying on the issue of resource, let me move to Mr. Alok Sikka. So, would like to hear from you how solar-powered irrigation systems can be optimized to ensure water efficiency and agricultural productivity, especially in regions with groundwater stress. So how would I respond to my board member? So it's okay, there can be mechanisms to reduce the water use, but again, we need some technological interventions that would help us to use a limited resource more efficiently.
All right.
Your thoughts, please.
Thank you very much. And first of all, let me thank ISA for organizing such a brilliant event and inviting International Water Management Institute to be on the panel. And as we are talking about solar energy here with water energy food nexus lens, and that's very important because as we know, particularly in the perspective of South Asia, where a lot of dependence is there on groundwater and the groundwater stress is developing in many places. And at the same time, there are also areas where groundwater exists, but because of many other reasons, it has not been developed because perhaps the energy access was not there or the access to groundwater was limited from the capacity to really pump the water and all those kind of things, or remote areas and all those factors. Now, we also know that this energy food water nexus, we started talking in 2011-12 with the Davos and other Bonn conference, and IMI has been working on this since that time. And when this impetus on solar energy for groundwater and the water or solarizing agriculture came up, one of the experiments or the pilots which we did was in Dhundi in Gujarat, which is again a water stressed area. Mm-hmm. In trying to see that, as it is apprehension of most of us, that it comes at a hardly any operational cost, and so farmers may tend to pump more and more water. And that was the pilot which we started with a small mini grid, and where we wanted farmers to evacuate the surplus energy into the grid, and they get incentivized for that with feed-in tariff. And I think so that is one way that you are trying to incentivize the farmers and induce more interest to them so that they can be more water positive and more rational water use so that they'll be getting incentivized through money. So that's one of the way. And as Suman rightly mentioned in this component C, and others there, and A as well, there is a feed-in tariff are there. And there are other examples like the Kusum and also Sky in the Gujarat, they have been doing, and same model. So that is something to take care of, that how best you can optimize this thing where the policy instrument. That's one thing. But there are other instruments, the technology, which is more in terms of enhanced efficiency of pump sets, because we know that the pumping system which we are using in solar is more efficient than the diesel or the electric. That's one way to look at it. And then the enhancing water use efficiency with various measures, because the time is short, I can't really go on and on into those kind of a thing. There are various demand side measures. And so the point is that they have to be bundled, integrated with the solar energy, including crop diversification, micro irrigation, and following many other agricultural water management interventions. So that's, now if we look into the other areas, like in the eastern part of the India, where you have a groundwater, and it's not that stress as in the other parts. There, solar energy becomes very handy, so that there is a not physical water scarcity, but economic water scarcity, what we call it as. So there it provides access to the poor people to the groundwater, be it mostly through a small group of farmers, as in entrepreneurs, so that they can sell the groundwater, because there are water markets. But when we are using, and we have already piloted, when you use this kind of using the youths or the women groups, definitely they are selling water at much cheaper rates than those who are running it through diesel. And it's not the case in India. We have been also working in Bangladesh. Yesterday I came back from our project in Bangladesh, where now we are been also looking into the various business models, including the ITCOL. ITCOL is one of the best business models over there, and that how various business models are really working in order to optimize this water energy food nexus. So I think time is short in a sense, otherwise I can go on and on, because let me also say at one point that we have looked into the groundwater sustainability angle in Gujarat and also in Bangladesh, that to clear this kind of a thinking that whether it really over-exploits the groundwater or not. My statement may not be interpreted universally truth, but it is to be taken that it is very context specific. In Sky, in Gujarat, because it is incentivized for evacuation-based incentive, so farmers have incentive to conserve water, so there we hardly see any adverse impact on groundwater. Similarly, even in Bangladesh, because ITCOL model is also incentivized in a sense that diesel farmers are selling for 130 taka and they are selling it for 90 taka, so you have got a saving for that. So that is also incentivizing them for the Boro rice season. So there are a number of ways that along with technology, you have to also blend it or kind of bundle it with the other policy related interventions. Maybe I'll talk more on the policy little later then, if the time permits. Thank you.
Yes, if time permits. I think we are really running over time, and some people may have flights to catch this evening. So, but I think this is a nice point to move to Mr. Harish Hanade, founder, Selco Foundation. Harishji, Selco Foundation has been instrumental in deploying decentralized solar solutions, especially for the underserved communities. So as I said, it's not only access, it's access for all, and especially the low income groups. So how can inclusive design and community-driven approaches help ensure that solar interventions in agriculture are not only technically viable, but also socially accessible, equitable across the ISA member countries? I mean, not only India, but beyond India, if you could comment on that, please.
No, no, thank you. Thank you for this. Madam Director knows last time, whenever some youngster comes to my office with a water pump project, I will take a 1983 document. So we still talk about, in the last 45 years, about solar. See, the question for us is, it's energy, water and agriculture. The starting point is agriculture. And the starting point being agriculture, it's the only sector where the seller decides the price, not the buyer. Let's look at the reverse economics which happens, where why people are not able to pay, because we don't want to pay our food if the farmers can get profitable, but we want cheaper food, right? So it's number one. Number two is, it's just like efficiency of anything, like in a sense. So first, what is the soil condition and what should be the cropping pattern in the first place? Right, let's talk about. And next 5 to 10 years is going to be very different to what we were talking in the last 15 years with the stress. And what we talk about stress, are we talking of water stress, or is that the water that was available? Why do we use the word stress? That's the water available. What should have been the cropping pattern? Then what should be the irrigation pattern? Because the cover of the title of the book is irrigation. Solar water pump is chapter 4, part 3, right? And we have made that as the title of the book, right? So it's not EV, it's a transportation is the book's title, and EV is, why do we, so my question is, let's look at agriculture first. Okay, these are not supposed to be sugarcane growing, it has to be millet. Can we get champion farmers, 3 or 4, 5, 10, 12, who are growing millet, and the money that the farmer earns is from the processed millet, processed cassava, processed in terms of turmeric in Meghalaya, and in terms of pineapple processed in Manipur or in Mizoram, right? Where do we look at solar powered processing units in these places? Then, okay, what is it 1 acre land, 2 acre land, 3 acre land, 4 acre land? And the value is on processed pineapple. What should be the water? Should it be solar powered, which is pumped into a storage tank, and then you have drip irrigation in the night, so the 7 farmers can use it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? It's a whole system design. It's like you go to Himachal, the monkey population is increased, but you're not realizing it's because the leopard population has gone down. So irrespective of what you do, the monkey population is going to increase. It's a systems level thinking that we need to give in agriculture, and we are putting in this single interventions either from a technology or from a finance. It's not going to work, because none of us here actually are from farming, and the stress that the farmers are facing is, we need to get, as you're talking of food, energy, water nexus, we also need to have energy department, agriculture department nexus to happen, right? And the cropping patterns have to change in certain areas. So for example, in North Karnataka, there are numerous women who now grow millets, and their money is through millet processing. So how do you innovate millet processing grading centers that they can actually sell their graded millet and then they earn the income? Or in Jantia Hills in Meghalaya is a processed Lakadong turmeric which gets them money. And they've actually used 10% of the water that they were using before. It's a holistic solutions that needs to come in place. We cannot enter from one angle and say we are going to solve the agriculture, water exercise. If I have to be answering to your board member, I would say, why is Manila's traffic and I'm going to change it to EV? No, first you have to question, why are people going from A to B? Not about how do I conserve fuel, right? Who is asking that fundamental questions and who is going to solve that? That's the point.
So I think the audience agrees he deserves a round of applause, as always. But yes, very, very relevant points that we have to take a holistic view of any issue that we are trying to tackle, and often these are interrelated. Mr. Sikka also referred to, cropping patterns as one way, and I think what you have also, in addition to this holistic view, looked at the entire food value chain, not just looking at irrigation and agricultural productivity. It goes beyond just agricultural produce. So many thanks for that. Now we have all these wonderful ideas, then we have to move to financing these. So I'd like to move on to Mr. Amit Sahu, Deputy General Manager, Exim Bank of India. So,
Sweta, I just want to add one thing.
please, please.
In UP, Shakti is working with the, various entities in UP. Now, they want to develop heat-resilient seeds. For example, that's another way of how do you survive in agriculture. And I think making everything, of course, Harish, whatever says, I mean, that's the way that it should be done. But I'm just adding development of heat resilience kind of seeds also.
It's already there. Drought-tolerant seed varieties are being developed.
That's also one of the approaches that
There is nothing like we call it drought-tolerant, the heat tolerant, not the resistant.
Okay, so with the permission of my panel members, if I can move to Mr. Sahu. So Amitji, financing, as I said, is a key barrier to scaling up. So apologies, Harish, we are going back to solar because we are at an ISA event.
My earnings have come from
So financing remains a barrier to solar powered solutions in agriculture. So from your bank's perspective, what innovative financing instruments or models can be leveraged to support deployment of solar technologies not only in one country but across the region, such that it enhances agricultural productivity, and especially again the emphasis is on water stressed areas. So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And first and foremost, I would like to thank ISA for organizing this discussion. I represent Exim Bank on this panel, and by virtue of our mandate, we handle. Is it audible? Yeah. By virtue of our mandate, we handle both the policy business of Government of India, which is lines of credit that Government of India extends, and also commercial credit, which typically the other public sector banks or private sector banks in India do extend. Being a development financial institution, this gives us a dual leverage. Now, coming to the question of the nexus between energy, water and food, and where do we start with? So from a lender's point of view, what would we generally look at is policy, technology, and then finance comes. So there has to be a policy which is clear, consistent and enforced, technology which is developing and bringing down the cost, and finance comes in at a time when the technology and policy brings down the viability gap. That is exactly what has happened in other sectors in India and is happening in this sector as well. 2 decades back, solar sector, we used to hear tariffs as high as 25 rupees and all, and 1 megawatt of solar electricity being set up at 15 crore, which has now come down to about 3.5 to 4 crores. So that is where the technology and policy has assisted. Now coming to India and looking at our portfolio, we are present in 68 countries, 44 in Africa, and duly spread across all the continents. In the solar sector per se, India is a beautiful laboratory. 29 states, 29 geography, and some tweaked policies. You cannot have a different variant across the world when we enforce solar financing in this renewable sector. Solar happens to be a sweet spot today and would continue for a very long time given the nature that it is. Any other energy sector that we try to develop would also entail a added distribution cost and all, whereas solar has its ability to reach remote areas is unmatched. Now coming to the space, I would agree with my panelists that reforms are required everywhere, but as a banker, where do we start with? So within the 3 that we talked about, energy as a sector is what we see nudges the other 2. Now I would give an example like we were looking at technology. Now like cropping patterns and all, this is something like our farmers have been lured into crops, looking at the price that one crop commands. I come from Chhattisgarh, and I have seen like 2 districts doing extremely well with turmeric in one crop season, and suddenly 4 or 5 districts follow that, and the next year the price crashes. So these kind of patterns do happen. But as a lender, if I have to intervene, we still feel energy is the right way to go forward and then assist. This is a similar debate that we had post-independence of India, whether industrialization should feed agriculture or agriculture should feed industrialization. So this debate, we would not get much into it, but I was giving an example. Now, how technology is changing it. So cold storage and all, so we, under the CSR, we had funded a cold storage unit in Muzaffarpur, amongst the lychee grower associations. And there, this was a case of cooling as a service. So they would pay per use. And the next year, they came up with their own commercial unit for it. So the pilot project was introduced, and then they went ahead with the commercial project. Why that happened is because energy was available. Otherwise, the same crop was available. They were unable to market it. The shelf life was lesser. Same kind of intervention is what electricity or power can bring in agriculture. So basically, it has a power to generate income and conserve resource. Both sides it is able to address. So that was the aspect. Now, coming to the financing aspect, presently, and I would compare it with 2 decades back and today. 2 decades back, there were some entrepreneurs who were looking at this sector. Banks were not aware how to fund this sector. And so mostly it was funded through private equities and all. Today, we are at a spot where under the lines of credit, many of the companies have explored new geographies for the first time. Now, over there, they have actually got repeat businesses and all, and are doing at commercial scale now. They come back to us for finance. At the same time, borrower government also looks for finance. This matching the two, the users and the service providers, has been a very critical thing. And when ISA was making that presentation at the beginning, when Kanav made the presentation on the structure, that is exactly what we could see. That is one place where people meet. Because you have to converge this. There is a need, there is a supply. India, we have EPC players. Initially, they went ahead as EPC players. Now they see so much of potential. Then in Africa, they would like to continue as developers rather than just do a project and exit. Those kind of scenarios are also developing. And we would be happy to look at. And any development finance institution, for that matter, would like to do these kind of finance. We are in the business of financing risk in partnership with our other associates. So in Africa also, like when we do leverage on our partnership with, say, World Bank for maybe an insurance cover. Then there is AFDB. There are other regional development banks who would come across. So on the structuring part, I would say that it's quite flexible. Once a need is identified, the bankers can structure around it. The risk mitigation has a cost, but there are ways to mitigate that cost as well. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Looking at a wide range of things, right from de-risking to looking at services instead of actual investment in a project. So supply of services and supporting those services. So very, very interesting. You covered, I think, some of the points which other panelists have made, and you were also going on this holistic approach to the problem. However, what was very interesting is you're saying energy is the driver of all this. I'm going to come back to the panel and see if they have a different view on this. But first, let me go to our final panelist, and we have Mr. Ramesh Patidar, who's the director, Shakti Pumps India. So Ramesh, Shakti Pumps has been a pioneer in solar-powered pumping solutions. And from the industry's perspective, what are the key technical and operational innovations that can make solar irrigation systems I'm emphasizing more accessible and affordable to the small farm holder.
Thank you, madam. Hello. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you, ISA, for giving this opportunity to explain about the solar water pump system for the small farmers. We are from Shakti Pumps. We are the largest manufacturer of solar water pumps in India. And we are the largest supplier in the PM Kusum scheme, like respected Suman Madam explained about the scheme. And we are very thankful for respected Suman Madam and MNRE for running successful this scheme in India. And we are giving this example to all our African friends and other countries to make the same policy and to promote the solar energy in other countries also. As regards the operational and technical, I think the first is very important is the operational. So for the operational, we are trying to do the pilot project, create the awareness of the farmers, what is the benefit in the long term. Because when we talk about the solar, it's unbelievable for them. Like I have been to many African countries, and I try to explain the benefit of the project and why the solar pumps is better than the diesel-driven pumps. So then we demonstrated the pilot projects in many countries, like in Senegal, in Mali. Before I have the example in Mali. They have the very small farm, around 2 acres of farms. Every 2 acres, another well, and then they put the diesel pumps over there. So I went there and I personally surprised why they are, and even they don't have the money to buy the diesels. So then we explained them that you need only one-time investment. You don't need to buy diesel every day. It's just one-time investment, and whatever the running cost, you can recover in 2 years only. So then we did some pilot projects. After the pilot projects, they are convinced with the project, and then we are start supplying to the farmers. We have supplied now more than 400 pumps in the country like Mali. Like in other countries like ITCOL, we are very actively working with ITCOL, and in ITCOL model is like it's a society of the farmers, like 50 farmers or 25 farmers. They have the land all together, and then they put the one big pumps, and they buy the water from this pump. So this is also a very successful scheme, and we supplied the solar water pumps in Bangladesh also. As regard the technical, this is the solar is sometimes they are thinking it's not running in a cloudy or in a rainy season. In Africa, it's a sunshine countries, and for the companies like we have our own R&D systems, and we manufacture motors, we manufacture inverters. So our motors has the BLDC motors, better efficiency motors. So the solar pumps can start early in the morning. It will give the less water, but at least you can get the water. So this is the technical development we have done it, and we provide the solution to the farmers so that they can get confidence to use the solar water pumps. We did the pilot projects in Senegal. Before they were using the diesel pumps, and they are hardly able to irrigate 2 or 3 acres of lands. Once we put the solar pumps, now they are able to irrigate 10 acres of lands, and without any investment, just one-time investment. So now they are more into the solar water pumps, but here the more important is the government support. Government support is very important, and we are trying to explain how the India is getting success. So I hope with the help of the ISA, we can be able to promote solar energy in Africa, because Africa land is available, water is available, sunshine is available. Only the pumping system, irrigation system is not available. And most of the African countries are importing their rice. So I'm confident if they go more into the solar energy, they will be the more self-sufficient in near future.
So how do you get the small farmer to make that initial investment? I noted you said 2 years payback period.
Yes.
So how do they get the resources, and especially they don't have the collateral to even borrow, and it's different in India that we have these policies as was mentioned earlier by. So how do you overcome this?
Of course, there is some microfinance is available, so we should go to the microfinance, and in Africa, they can afford, not afford, but they can go to the microfinance because they don't have any choice. There is no scheme or support right now, so they can afford to get a finance from the micro. Or there are some NGOs, they can get the facilities from the NGOs to get the solar pumps. Okay. And for your question, to run the pumps in the night, rather than using in the night, we can go for drip irrigation. Then you can save the water.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
So thank you. Mr. Sikka mentioned those very quickly, the water use efficiency technologies that we can employ. So I think we've heard various aspects of the issue, and very, very interesting. We are well over time, but I'd like to come back to the panel and would request each panel member to give their key takeaway for the audience on the topic of food, energy and water nexus. And I will come to Harish ji last. He will have the privilege of having the last word. So let me start with Ashwini ji. Your less than 1 minute, less than 60 seconds message on this topic.
I would say that solar is a boon to everyone. We need to exploit this, whether through solar pumps or solar storages or any other solar applications. And as Shakti, I would say that we would like to work. We have already understanding with ISA to work. We work with Government of India. We work with the various states. We can connect the states to various countries to translate the policy actions what have gone well in India to see that what is the replicability in other countries.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing, we Mr. Sahu had mentioned that energy is the catalyst. So I would like the panelists also to comment on if they agree that energy is the catalyst in terms of moving this.
I completely agree with that, and in fact I was thinking that apart from the agriculture feeder separation, there could be mini grids, microgrids, another application where the housing load or agriculture and non-agriculture loads are combined and then business model is evolved or something. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Yes, I mean, just few points I'll make. One is that in terms of the policies and this thing, the context-specific business models and the finance models, that's, of course, time is short. There are a number of business models which are floating around, and of course we did the comparative analysis for Bangladesh, and what we found in Bangladesh perspective, this what it called model, the fee for service, really is one of the better ones. So that's what I think, even India also we have been working on that. So that's one point. The other thing is, when we are looking into this off-grid systems, underutilization of the solar energy which is produced, and that is where we had to do the value addition in terms of the processing and other things, and including some farm operations which are more static in nature, if not dynamic in nature. And so that is something, and as we were challenged sometimes back, maybe I think someone would remember, she said that, so we have initiated, someone maybe sometime will take you, in Mandla, as a part of our SDC solar and our multifunction landscape, link that with the women self-help groups which were carved out from this NRLM or SRLM, and now we have also rice hurler and so many other kind of things, such to cut the long story short. So this is something I think we need to really look into that. And the other thing is to address water energy food nexus. In the water stressed areas, when we are putting in all these solar irrigation pumps, we have to see that how best we can come up with attractive incentivization to the farmer to save groundwater. Because sometimes I may save groundwater, but my next door neighbor pulls it out. So what is the incentive to me? So
Right.
I think I'll leave it over here. And of course, if I go to the other countries in Africa, forward and backward linkages are also very important, though we are better off in terms of forward and backward linkages. So I'll
True.
stop it over here.
Thank you, thank you. Let me go to Mr. Sahu.
See, on the water and agriculture sectors, we would request the users and the cultivators to have a relook of the process and how they are approaching it. Once they identify it, then leverage on technology and then go back on finance. Because once you have the problem statement backed by a technical solution, finance follows. So that approach we would suggest. As regards other countries are concerned, as development financial institution, policy is what we would like to nudge our partner countries, because that is where the entire thing starts in terms of a country. So
Thank you. Since you emphasize policy, I'm going to go beyond my panel and come to MNRE for their key takeaway, based on the discussion that you've heard from various people here on the panel.
Yeah, thank you everybody for very insightful views. And just to highlight that government has this realization of breaking the silos and working in the convergence mode. And you must be noticing for the last 10 years, we are largely operating in whole of government approach, which is what is tying up, say agriculture, water and food nexus, where we do not just talk about energy, but we do consultations with the agricultural ministry and see what kind of food zones, particular kind of crops are suitable and what kind of irrigation patterns would be required and what would be the sizing of the pumps there. And then also the realization that there are, overdrawn aquifers which need to be protected and not over extracted beyond what they have already been done. So we have the built-in guardrail within the scheme itself where it prevents the higher capacity pump in those areas, and you can only replace that much capacity in the which existed, and that is necessary because you also have to sustain the natural resource of food and feed the billions that are a part of this country. So therefore there are policy level measures which encourage these kind of things, along with encouraging compulsorily sprinkler irrigation, so that judicious use of water can be made. Apart from that, a lot of people highlighted the DRE part of it, and therefore there was a realization that our pumps run at the most 150 days in a year, and what do we do with the rest of the energy? And therefore that rest of the energy can be channelized in other applications, say for not really cold storage, which that requires much more energy, but dryers and shaft cutters and these kind of DRE applications, and farmers are using it. And very consciously the PM Kusum scheme has an element of participation from the SHG, food producer organizations, water user association, just to leverage this convergence part of it. So for us, the greatest takeaway and also our success model has been the iterative process, to keep our eyes and ears to the ground. And if you would have seen that just because the scheme was launched in 2019, it did not automatically take off. It was a very climate collaborative approach where we did a lot of capacity building and also did our own hand holding through various stakeholders, which kind of unlocked the potential. And I feel that is the takeaway for most of the countries, that you need to take all the stakeholders together for the success of such programs, which involves more than just one sectors.
Thank you. And I think, just side comment on this, we see that the government is doing a lot. I mean, I'm not, I haven't been in India for a long time, but when I started coming here, one comes across this millet mission. So trying to promote a lesser or a less popular, I can't call it food grain because it is not a grain, but something that's healthy, more efficient in terms of resource use, and more suitable in many regions in the country. So I think there is a holistic approach being taken by the government as well. So with this, let me move to you.
Thank you. So in very short, I think we should prioritize what is the priority, food or water. I think the best priority is the food. So whatever to grow the food, to grow the grain, what we need, we should focus on this. And then I think to make it successful in Africa, I think Exim Bank and ISA can have the finance mechanism, because there are so many lines to the Africa. So we can use these lines for the solar. So there should be some schemes from the ISA and from the India Exim Bank. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Harish, take it away.
Oh no, thank you. No, I was saying, I mean, the field, I mean, Ashwini Kumarji, and we go back to see, unfortunately, when people look at MNRE, they only look at technology. But MNRE has been very innovative in financing over the years. They were the first people to actually look at water pumping and depreciation, which are the finance companies that can actually take the 100% depreciation in the first year and refinance at a much cheaper rate to the end users, to the farmers. So a 1,75,000 water pump used to cost an end user 25,000 rupees, because 100% depreciation was taken by the companies and they got a 0% financing from IREDA, which was what the MNRE had actually done that. Hopefully those case studies are there, which should upload in AI, because that's where some of the lessons should be replicated for me. I mean, so that time Ashwini Kumarji nearly gave me a room in MNRE also when I used to come. So, no, but coming back to the issue is what India can offer to Africa is like, just a specific example, Mizoram has just got a 350 crore loan from IFAD. Okay, for small scale holding farmers. That's when they called us and said, can we actually work together for the 350 crores, relook at energy from day one? In a sense, what is it? Is it energy for water, energy for food processing, energy for drying? What is it? Right? And suddenly the scale up of solar happens. See, if you look at just a dairy value chain, I'm just giving you an example. You have hydroponics, you have shaft cutters, you have the cowshed, you have milking machine, you have chiller, and you have koya making. Solar powered hydroponics, redesign of the cowshed to reduce heat stress, solar powered milking machine, solar powered chillers, solar powered koya machine. Suddenly I go to the Milk Federation and suddenly 10,000 farmers are now scaled up solar, right? Had we gone from a solar panel perspective, you would not scale up. So my question is, how do we look at solar as an enabler? So my disagreement of that is, we cannot finance from an energy perspective. It's the end goal, which is, I will look at a balance sheet and look at end goal, what am I financing for? And if you look at the MNRE Rural Bank partnership that happened in 2001, where MNRE actually said, which is under the PLR, priority sector lending, you finance the end users at 14%, which is PLR. We are going to give you 7%. And so the Grameen banks in India, rural Grameen in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, shot up 10,000 water pumping agricultural financing happened in that 3 years, where MNRE subsidized it by delta 7%, right? But again, we sometimes confuse between asset-based financing and consumptive-based financing. And we now, water pumps are an asset. It's like buying a house on a credit card. It's not. We need to go back to asset-based financing and say 10-year financing, just like India gets financing, or Africa, or countries in Africa get financing at 30 years for airports. That's the type of financing water pumping is needed. We are squeezing that and saying that, how do you make it viable? No, it's not. Mathematically, it will not work out.
Okay, thank you. And if I may ask the audience to give a round of applause to our panelists for them. And back to the MC, Aishwarya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, for steering such a deeply engaging and insightful discussion. You beautifully expanded the conversation beyond the energy, water, food nexus to the larger question of resource optimization, weaving together perspectives on technology, finance, policy, and social inclusion, from innovative business models, farmer-centric solar solutions to equitable access and community-driven design. Today's dialogue reflected the very purpose of the ISA to turn ideas into impact through partnership. And our gratitude also to all the distinguished panelists for the invaluable contributions, reminding us that energy is not merely a technology, it's a catalyst for transformation, enabling livelihoods, resilience, and shared prosperity. So thank you once again. And with that, for the closing remarks, it is my honor and my privilege to invite to this podium His Excellency Mr. Charles Umehai, Honorable Deputy Minister, Ministry of Mines and Energy, Liberia. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause, please.
A pleasant good evening to everyone. Distinguished delegates, esteemed panelists, respected colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On behalf of the government and people of Liberia, it is an honor to deliver the closing remark at this vital session on the energy, water, food nexus, a theme that resonates deeply with the development priorities of Liberia and many other ISA member countries. Today's discussion has illuminated the transformative potential of solar energy in addressing the interconnected challenges of energy access, water management, and food security. From the solar-powered irrigation and cold chains to decentralized agro-processing, we have seen how innovation, policy, and partnership can converge to empower farmers, enhance resilience, and drive inclusive growth. I wish to commend the International Solar Alliance for convening this timely dialogue and for its continued commitment to supporting member countries in harnessing solar energy for sustainable agriculture. The insights shared by our distinguished panel, including experts from Shakti Foundation, IWMI, Selco Foundation, Exim Bank, NABARD, and Shakti Pumps, have provided us with actionable ideas and collaborative pathways. As we move forward, let us remember that energy, water, food nexus is not just a technical challenge, it is a human one. It is about ensuring that every farmer, every household, every community has access to resources they need to thrive. Liberia stands ready to work with ISA and fellow member nations to scale solar-powered solutions that are locally relevant, financially viable, and environmentally sustainable. Together, we can build a future where clean energy powers not only our homes and industries, but also our fields, our food systems, and our shared prosperity. Let us continue this journey with resolve, with unity, and with the spirit of collaboration that defines today's session. I thank you, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those insightful and compelling closing remarks and for so aptly capturing the spirit of today's discussions, collaboration, innovation, and shared progress. And on that note, it is now my privilege to invite Mr. P.C. Sharma, ISA NFP CP Coordinator and Distributed Solar Specialist with the International Solar Alliance, to render the word of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm good evening, everyone. I am really thankful to all of you for participating in this session. My special thanks to His Excellency Dr. John Abdul Jenapur, Honorable Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Ghana, who has delivered the keynote address He was very sleepy and he was very tired because ISA has engaged him since the last night when he landed in India for the assembly, and continuously he has been chased by all other sessions for delivering that keynote address, and that's why I'm having special thanks. But more than that, because he has last time when we went to RCM Ghana, he has announced a scheme for solar water pumping systems, and he has invited ISA to take a mission. We are planning next month to develop that agricultural program, and we will to take that holistic approach that Mr. Hande was mentioning. And another many thanks to His Excellency Mr. Charles Wade, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Mines and Energy, Government of Liberia, for his closing remarks. I'm really grateful to him that when I requested for the closing remarks, immediately within minutes he agreed to deliver that. And although the last session, everybody knows it's tiring in the end, but he has been with us for so long. Thank you, Excellency, for your time. I would also like to thank Ms. Suman Chandra, Director MNRE. She was in a meeting, but I have been continuously requesting to attend this session, and for her, because in ISA also we think the perspective of Kusum scheme can be taken as learnings to African countries. In the past 2-3 years that we have been interacting with various African countries, there is a great demand for solar water pumping system, and from this year we have been advocating to all these countries to take a collective approach of having solar water pumping system, solar cold storages and other applications in these countries, and we are getting more requests like 30,000 solar pumps from Ethiopia, Ghana, Senegal and so on. Even those countries where we have conducted some feasibility studies, they are planning to launch those schemes, like Exim Bank has and other panelists are saying policy is important. So that is what we are advocating, to make those policies so that we can collaborate with them for scaling up all these applications in agriculture sector. My thanks to Dr. Sujata for moderating this session, having so eminent panelists and providing all this great knowledge for the benefit of our member countries that we will take to them. And thanks to all the panelists, that includes Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Mr. Alok Sikka, Mr. Harish Hande, Mr. Amit Sahu and Patidar, and Mr. Kanav for setting the context for this session, and for all of these panelists. We have been working very closely to take this message of, because food security has become a hot topic, especially in Africa, even in other Asian countries. So we wanted to discuss how we can take this knowledge and have that interaction with the countries in the coming year to develop a big program on solar water irrigation and agriculture applications. And that's all. Thank you very much for all the delegates who have been listening very patiently and at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sharma, for that endearing word of thanks. And with that, I'd request our esteemed panelists to please step ahead of the dais and give us a photo opportunity as we close this high-level conference.
And thanks to Aishwarya for anchoring this session. Thank
you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. We request our eminent panelists to give us that group photo opportunity. And with that, we bring to a close, ladies and gentlemen, this high-level conference on new technologies for clean energy transition. I thank you very much for being an integral part of this, of today's proceedings as well. And thank you for being here yesterday as well for the ISA Assembly, Excellencies and distinguished delegates of the ISA member countries. Thank you once again. Can we hear it for the panel once again? I think it was a very compelling panel, ladies and gentlemen. We are very grateful to the esteemed panelists, so we thank them once again. His Excellency Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapur, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Ghana. His Excellency Mr. Charles Umehai, Honorable Deputy Minister, Ministry of Mines and Energy, Liberia. Ms. Suman Chandra, Director, MNRE, Government of India. We thank you, Madam. We also thank eminent moderator, Dr. Sujata Gupta, Director, Asian Development Bank, for brilliantly steering this session. Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Technical Advisor, Shakti Foundation. Mr. Alok Sikka, Country Director, India and Bangladesh, IWMI. Mr. Harish Hande, Founder, Selco Foundation. Mr. Ramit Sahu, Deputy General Manager, Exim Bank of India. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh Patidar, Director, Shakti Pumps India. And thank you, Mr. Kant Garg, Chief of Unit Resource Mobilization and Private Sector. And we also thank Mr. P.C. Sharma. With that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Aishwarya Singh, and now I sign off. Thank you.